Welcome to Lunarism with Christine. Well, once a month, we will meet each other here and talk about what's happening right now. What's happening right now, Christine?
Uranus has now taken up position for all of us, square the nodal axis. And that's bringing up all sorts of things. But before we get into what they are, it hasn't done that very many times across that particular axis. The last time it did it was August of 1942, where you had the Battle of Stalingrad and Guadalcanal, right? So it was a very, very difficult time. And I had been giving that as part of my talk in Slovenia. I'd also explained that the time before that was the American Revolution, and the one before that was the Battle of the Boyne in Ireland. So it's a difficult, it's not very nice, it rather suggests that a big battle is on the horizon. Yeah. Claude Weiss was speaking at this thing, and he was jaw-dropping. I mean, you guys are too young to know this, but really, Claude is a Nick Campion. He's in another space, right? And he was very, very supportive. But he pointed out to me that August of 1942 was also the beginning of the turn in the World War, in the Second World War. So although it was awful, right, it was also a turning point. So we can actually be hopeful that maybe if we do have a crisis, it's coming to that. But of course, it doesn't play out just on that field. And Uranus is astrology, isn't it? Right?
Yes.
Astrology and Gemini, right? And, I love my Geminis, but let's face it, they're a bit Sun newspaper compared to the Telegraph. They run off with half a story, right? Sometimes. And I'll be careful what I say here. I don't want to. But we're talking about the whole issue of the astrocartography. And here we have like a bomb going off in the astro community.
Exactly.
I think I was the second person to sign this thing. As I just said to you, I forwarded the link. And thank you to the AA for picking up on this. I forwarded it to 56 people yesterday. But it's very interesting that all of this is stirring this up. The upside, of course, is that it seems that we're all coming together to say, this is not okay, and we're also damned individual being. I mean, I'd say the same thing everywhere, right? Astrologers like being outside the box, right? But now for this, it's like we've just congealed this big thing. And so the upside is we are coming together, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. I never, to be entire of my life, I come from, Taiwan, and our community is pretty small and constantly arguing. But this is the first time in my life I see so many people just, come to support. We all agree this kind of generic term, legacy from the Jim Lewis, should belong to astrological community.
Absolutely. We're very good at this. We'll have lively discussions about whole signs, equal signs, Placidus or chandeliers or something, But on this, there's a united front. This belongs to all of us, right? And on that, I think we may have to be a united front on something else as well, actually, because I think with all these developments that are going on the moon and, they're building on the moon and whatever, I thought the international understanding was that the moon belonged to all of us. So are we really going to go along with the idea that it's a collective thing? And I wonder at what point we're going to say, it's not okay. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I'm off target. Yeah. Can we talk about something lovely?
Yeah, just before you jump to something lovely, I will encourage people, if you agree this idea, this astrocartography, this term should belong to all astrologers, please join Astrological Association's petition, because together we are stronger. With more numbers, we can showing the even authority or anyone who want to privatize this as a trademark to understand the astrological community are not accept this. So we can show them that we are all together this and make them to think again.
Yeah, and we have to go global on this.
Yeah, we definitely.
I applaud the Astrological Association of Great Britain for taking the lead on this, but this actually has to be everybody. This is a global thing. We have to come together.
So yes, I have to say thanks to Wendy. She acted very quickly. Just like make thing within 2 hours. Within 2 hours, everything's done. And then now we also connect with several association from Europe. Yeah. So we are working together on this.
So there's, this is the thing. This is like this Battle of Stalingrad model, as I'm trying to say, it's a crisis which has the potential for turning something around. When we spoke before, I was pointing out how interested I was in May the 22nd. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Sun Uranus Sedna. And the day passed and there wasn't really anything huge, or didn't appear to be. What none of us knew, right, was that actually something was happening, but we weren't watching, right? Just off Papua New Guinea, an undersea volcano was going off, which is huge. And it's going to leave a legacy. It's actually going to leave a new island behind. And the satellite images from it are just like, wow, right? I think they're on spaceweather.com. But, when you think Sun Uranus Sedna in Gemini, we've got all the ingredients there for, well, certainly the Uranus Sedna, right? You can get the underwater volcano very easily. And then the Gemini bit is also the news about the whole thing, which actually has taken some time to get to us, but it has reached us. I did make a little list of the other things we should talk about.
Yeah.
There was one of them was quite funny, actually. Well, it wasn't funny on the day. Mercury went from being a morning to an evening star back in May. I think it was May the 14th. I think I'm right. 14th, 15th. And that was the day we had all the shenanigans about we didn't know who was going to be prime minister by 5 o'clock. Do you remember?
Yes.
Do you remember we were all waiting for, is Wes Streeting going to say something? I mean, it was just, it was Mercury at a pure Mercury best. And it was all day. I don't think that story is finished, because the Mercury loop, of course, brings us all the way through to July the 15th. So there may be more to come on that. But that leads me again to something else. When I worked on the book, the exploring book, and I discovered that 19 degrees of the cardinals was very often featured when there was a market, a market issue, let's put it like that. So, and it's not consistent, actually, because 19 degrees of Libra doesn't seem to have the same effect, but certainly Cancer, Capricorn, and Aries, it's in there. Anyway, where Jupiter, of course, has been passing through Cancer. And I had, in my teaching, I'd been saying that I was concerned about when Jupiter got to 19 degrees of Cancer, what might happen, what are we going to see? Well, actually, we saw market highs across the world, so Jupiter did its stuff. However, it's not finished yet. Venus has got to go past as well, right? And we have a Venus-Jupiter conjunction also kind of on the horizon too. So we may have another high coming. But the one I'm interested in is that Mercury is going to do its loop, right? And Mercury, that means it's going to go over 19 of Cancer 3 times, which is unusual, right? So we've got the 15th of July, of June rather, the 15th of July and the 31st of July. So I'm looking at that as being 3 little loops in all of this. And thinking these are going to be dates to watch on various markets. But so that's that. But in the news, of course, we've, for weeks, they've been talking about when is SpaceX going to come to market. So I was having private bets on with people about what date they would choose. And initially, the Economist or whatever was saying that it's going to be, what did they say? I think they said the 18th to the 20-something. I can't remember. But anyway, they didn't choose my dates, right?
Okay.
And I was thinking maybe it would happen around Elon Musk's birthday. Now, this is significant because his sun is at 5 degrees of Cancer. So, but hold that thought for a minute. So I went obviously thinking maybe he's going to try and go for then. But I looked up the initial, what do they call it? The incorporation date for SpaceX. And that's a date back in March of 2002, I think. And that has a Jupiter, would you believe, at 5 degrees of Cancer. So Jupiter was on his sun when he formed it. And that Jupiter was out of bounds. So that company was always set to be wild, feral, whatever you want. It was always going to go big, 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 big. Anyway, I got into this, and the more I got into it, and the more I got into Elon Musk's chart, he has an out of bounds Mercury, 23 degrees and a bit. And there's only one day in the next few weeks when Mercury is also out of bounds around that. And that's June the 12th, which now seems to be the date they're going to do it. we'll see what happens, but it's kind of, that's a sort of interesting twist and interesting return on this. And the likelihood is, of course, that the share price will be stupid high, right? And then Mercury's coming along and going to do its little
Loop.
little pirouette in the sky, right? And that price is not going to hold, right? And I could go on and we could talk about the markets, but we won't.
Yeah.
What we will talk about is oh, yes, sorry. And then just for fun, I looked up to see if was there any fixed star behavior on the 12th of June. And on the 11th, which is kind of close enough for jazz, right?
Yeah.
It's the fixed star, and I'm not sure how you pronounce this, Procyon,
Procyon.
which is of the nature of Mercury and Mars. And I thought, well, that's SpaceX, isn't it? I mean, that's, you know, and because he wants to travel to Mars, Mercury, Mars. I thought,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be June the 12th. That's it. I'm done now, right? So we will see what time it all eventually happens.
Shall I add it a little bit?
Yeah.
A little bit about Procyon. Few things. In the ancient time, this star has been seen as a Babylonian healing stars. Healing stars. Yes, and also is related to kind of a so-called explosive energy. I don't know why, but personally, always thinking about something like explosive something. However, according Benedict Bradley, the expert of the fixed star, she always say this fixed star in the ancient time as just is like a pair compared with the series, the Canis majors, the big dogs, and the Procyon is the Canis minors, the small dogs. So the small dogs come first, come before the big dog. Right.
Okay.
So it's like indicate something bigger is coming up. And this one is a pioneer. This one is pioneer. Come up.
Oh, that's a great word with it.
Yeah.
Because that again, that takes us back to this nature of Mercury and Mars.
Yes, indeed.
It's that Aries Mercury mix, isn't it?
Yes.
And the speed. No, I like that. That's brilliant. So then, because I was driven, the conference was absolutely fantastic because. And we talked about many things, but obviously oil keeps coming back. Everybody wants to know what's oil going to do. The fact of the matter is that we haven't really felt the full effects of this nonsense in the yet, because the last of the oil that left safely and has got to California, done its stuff, that's now finished. There's no more on the oceans and whatever, right? So although the price has been kind of held, we haven't really hit the shortage bit yet, right? Which is going to happen presumably as soon as Chiron touches Taurus, right? Which is the 19th of June. Before we speak again, that's going to happen.
Yes.
So I went to look at Mr. Trump's chart, right? Because, we as astrologers, we kind of know when he's going to go off on one, right? Why they don't just buy an ephemeris, I don't know. But, there we go.
Only if.
only if. But we have, Mars is now moving through Taurus, and it's going to square his Pluto over the next few days. It's squaring his Pluto. So, he's an angry, we know he doesn't harness that energy. It could be harnessed in many ways, but it seems to be push a lot of buttons for him. So, and I'd already said I was extremely worried about next week. Now, the oil price, I looked it up just before we spoke. There are various oil prices, so because it depends which trading system you're using and all the rest of it. But it had touched earlier today, it was $95, right? Now people scream as soon as it's over 100, right? And it's going to go beyond that. I'm absolutely sure. And obviously we don't want this, but supposing there is some god-awful attack next week, that puts great pressure on everything. And we don't even know if that attack is going to be related to Iran and the USA. I mean, overnight, the Russians have attacked, I think it's 17 people have died in Ukraine.
Yes.
Supposing the battle is actually, I'm looking in the wrong place, right? Which is possible. But even then, whatever happens, everything uses energy and everything comes back to oil, everything.
Yeah.
And again, going back to this conference, we talked about not just for the shortage of fertilizer and the impact that was going to have on crops, And the price of, Ray Merriman and I had been saying back in January that we thought people should buy wheat options back in January because we thought by August the price would be very high. Well, nobody wants to make money out of something that's nasty, but it's true. There is going to be a shortage because they haven't had what they need. But the fertilizer and all that stuff is also used for packaging. So they need oil for the plastics that, God help us, everything seems to be wrapped in plastic, But
Yes.
what happens then? Because the stuff that would have been, many foodstuffs will perish because, not all plastic is bad, right?
Yeah.
So I think we should all really be quite concerned about this summer because I think we're going to feel I feel a real pinch because certain stocks won't be available. I mean, on the food shelves, I think that we've got oil prices going up. And we desperately, desperately need the United Nations or something to come in and start the repair process. But even if they started it tonight, and if all wars stopped tonight, the damage that's been done it's horrendous. And that takes me really to what Sue Keats in her fantastic book, Pluto squaring Haumea. This is a long cycle. This isn't going to be resolved in 5 minutes. And then you have the sun having its freak out. It's going to be 2029 really before we're at the end of that cycle. So, but we need to finish on a bright note. And I found one. I did find one. You know how interested I am in this height formation that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Because we have Uranus trine Pluto and Neptune in the middle.
Yes.
And because every so often it's the moon's job to make it to form the back.
Right. Yeah.
So the next one we've got is the 21st of June. How cool is that, right?
Oh, solstice.
Yeah. So for a few hours then, and we had it, if anybody wants to know, we had it, the kite was flying last Monday whilst I was actually on my way back to London with this fantastic lady and the antique kimonos. That was between about 3 in the afternoon and 7 in the evening. So if you had any fantastic ideas then, you were flying a kite, right?
Yeah.
So the next one's the 21st of June. And then we have I think it's the 19th of July. And you have a whole series, obviously, with the moon doing it. But the one that I really like the look of is a whole period between the 7th and the 15th of August, which interestingly covers the solar eclipse, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
And that's when it's Venus that is doing the anchor. And during that time, it's actually joined by the moon. There is a time when both the moon and Venus are opposing the Neptune and what have you. And maybe we should all mark that in our diaries and say, maybe we're going to come up with some harmonious, balancing ideas. I can dream.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So there we go. I've gone down my list.
Thank you. And then what's your next trip?
Well, that's a very good question. I have a choice of, and in fact, I've got Chicago in September.
Definitely. Yeah. Huge UAC. Going to be fun. Well, thanks everyone to join Christine and I today for our lunarism, and fantastic. I mean, we learned so much, and then there's so much things to think about it. So, well, looking forward to see you next month. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.
按赞、订阅、分享，谢谢大家观看到最后。